Hallo, herzlich willkommen zum Filmfest Osnabrück. Ich sitze hier mit Anne-Marie Gélinas, der Produzentin von Wiens. Regisseurin Tracey Deer konnte leider nicht dabei sein, aber genau, wir werden gleich ein bisschen darüber sprechen, über den Film. And now hello, Anne-Marie. Thank you for being here and for making your time.
Thank you to the festival for showing our film, and thank you for this time.
Yes, I was very impressed by the film Beans. I watched it beforehand, and I'm also coordinating with the children's rights segment, so it was very interesting to see it in this particular eye. So since Tracey sadly can't be here today, I want to talk to you about what you can tell us about her and her vision. So maybe we can start with you telling us a little about working with Tracey on this project.
Yes, I'd be happy to. Thank you. So Tracey and I met maybe 8 years ago. And at the time, she hadn't done a first feature film. So this was to be her first. And we talked about her themes and her mission and her vision. And I immediately thought, we have to do this, because she wanted to retell an historical moment in Quebec that happened in the the summer of 1990, where the Mohawks were in danger of losing a piece of land, and they were mistreated so dramatically, so violently, just for standing up and saying no. It's, the white population around them just said, you don't have the right to say no. Basically, that's what happened. That's how she felt it was lived. And she was 12 at the time during that summer. So when she created the story, we went through many different ways of telling the story, and we didn't want to make a historical film to cover everything. It's 78 days long, it's pretty big. And she also wanted to talk about how children are affected by these things, like the scars that they carry for years. So that was her main vision. And so it was quite challenging for writing the script. It took a long time to write the script. Yeah. Also, because we were dealing with so much data, and then along the way, we found this 12-year-old character. Like, she found her, and, she started writing about her. And then we thought, we have to see the world, see everything through her eyes, see her world. And, so we quickly got rid of recreating all these historical moments and decided to have some archive moments in the film to free us from telling the entire story. Mm-hmm. And also at the end, Tracey really wanted to open up the conversation to be in a place where when we finished the film, to be able to say, but there is a way to move forward from this. There is a way to discuss and so in Canada right now, politically, we are in this time where, there's a lot of desire to, there's a truth and reconciliation process is in place in Canada right now. It's fairly recent. It's 3 to 5 years old. It's very recent in our history.
I was also wondering while watching the movie that there are many scenes that me as a white person I found very hard to watch, but I imagine it was even harder to maybe for Tracey and the actors to go through this, or maybe also go to a kind of trauma during the scenes. Can you tell us a little bit about the process, how you dealt with these difficult scenes?
Yes, that is a very good question. Thank you. That was our primary concern. Once we had finished the script and we loved it, I remember just reading through it and going, Tracey, and called her and I said, Tracey, I have no comments. I'm in tears. This is it. We've got it. I mean, we can tweak a little things in here and there, but you did it. We've got it. We're holding it. And then we talked, we were festive, and I hung up. And then I called her back an hour later and I went, okay, now I have what I need to go finance this film, but now we have to start thinking about this. Wow, this is hard. Like, how are we going to cast this 12-year-old girl and make her live through this? And Tracey was at the same place. She immediately, answered, we need, so we have a new position in film here, and it's called an intimacy coordinator. So it is very much like a stunt coordinator. So if you think of a stunt coordinator, working with the actors to break down how are you going to hit somebody, like the fist has to come with a certain speed, the actor's not getting hit, but the other actor has to practice being hit and looking really either surprised or hurt or whatever, and then there's a coordination of maybe some blood and whatever. So the scene or the action is broken down. And so an intimacy coordinator does the same thing. So she comes on set, she works with the kids, and they talk through the scene and they say, is there anything you don't understand, anything? And then they move on and they practice, and she breaks it down in little pieces. And she does this thing where, okay, we're gonna enter the scene. So they do a little ritual, like maybe just clap their hands together, the two actors, clap their hands, we enter the scene, we play, we finish, we clap our hands, and we leave the scene where it is. And just that little mental process means that they leave it there. Because it was just as hard, if you take Gyawandio, who is amazing, it was just as hard for Gyawandio to play someone who's being aggressed than for the Pharaoh, who's just a little bit older than her. He wasn't an adult yet. For him to play the aggressor. Like, so you can imagine on both sides, if they leave the scene and they know it was a success, then they may wonder, he may wonder, am I really an aggressor? She may wonder, am I really a victim? And then internalize these things. So that's why the intimacy coordinator really helps on those scenes. And they also help in creating a safe space and removing everybody that doesn't need to be there, removing so it's a very amazing process. But we also had acting coaches. We also had, during some scenes, we had a psychologist specialized in PTSD. Because if you think of the rock throwing scene, we were asking all these women that were in the cars that were getting, because there was a lineup of cars, but we actually had women from Kahnawà. Some of them had lived it. Some of them were the daughters or nieces of people who'd lived it. So the trauma was being triggered. And so we had a PTSD psychologist, 2 social workers, and between each take, they would talk about it. They would get out of the cars. We would take the time to just decompress and then do it again. And then at the end, they said something amazing to us. They said, because we lived it again and again today, every time we were able to push it out away from us. Every time it was becoming less heavy to carry. And so they were like dealing with their own trauma on set. And that was amazing. That was an amazing result. And the scene, as you've seen, is just so hard to watch.
Yes. Yeah, but it's very interesting the process between this whole how that I'm glad to know that the actors could actually gain something through going through these hard scenes, and I imagine the people watching maybe also get to know this feeling a little better.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and Tracey herself, she didn't live all of these events in the movie. She lived some of them. Other scenes in the movie were stories she was told by her community. Other things she took from the press or from archives. And so that's how she wove the story. But that one scene on the bridge and the rock throwing, she actually lived herself. She was in the car, seated exactly where Dio, who plays Beans, was. Her mom was there and her sister was in the back, and the rock did go through the window and shattered and all over her sister. And so this really happened to her. And when she told me that story, I was devastated. I was crying. And the day that we shot it, we took one day just to shoot that one. And we were all crying. I'm still crying when I tell the story, but we were all crying, especially Tracey. It was so hard for her to relive it. But she was very, very, I was very proud of her when we got through the day and we did it. Yeah.
You earlier you mentioned that in the whole process, or even Tracey was also worked on documentaries before, and yeah, we also saw in the movie that there are some archival footage that throughout the movie, and while watching the film, I asked myself, why not make a documentary? Why make this coming of age story?
Yes, that's a very good question, because I think when you enter, like, no film had ever, or no documentary had ever been done from the inside like that, where you see a regular family. You know, she's at home, it's a regular family. There's little fights between her and her sister. There's little things. And, you know, she cuts her clothes and her mom's upset and she's no TV. And, you know, it's a regular loving family. And those images don't really exist a lot in media. When we talk about Indigenous people in Canada, it's always very negative. It's always about all the social and political problems that they have. And we never focus on the good things. So that was very important to Tracey as well. Yeah.
We talked about this earlier before the interview. You said that currently there's a small change happening regarding representation of Indigenous people. Can you tell us a little bit about this?
Telefilm Canada, which is our main federal body, created many years ago now, maybe 4 years or 5 years, I can't remember, the Indigenous office. They helped create the Indigenous office. So it's run by Indigenous people, but it is specifically created to fund feature films that are made and told by Indigenous people. And that means that we are finally going to see these stories come out on the screen. Yeah, I was mentioning Night Raiders, there's Black Quantum. There's many other films now that are coming out that are made and told, and stories about Indigenous people. There's a lot more coming up right now in the years to come now, because the financing is in place. And now there's a film like Beans that went to Berlin and won the Crystal Bear for Generation. And Danis Goulet's film is going everywhere now, Night Raiders. So I think that in Canada, there's an opening for that. And in our society, parallel to this, there's a truth and reconciliation process that's underway. And it's taken many years to get to where we are, I find. And then this summer, they found, I don't know if you heard this news, but they found bodies of little children buried next to residential schools. So there was this system of residential schools in Canada. That's what Dennis's film is about, where they would take the children away from their community and put them in schools very far away from their homes, and deculturalize them, if you want. Like, so make them white, right? They would cut their hair. They wouldn't be allowed to speak their native language. They'd have to learn anyway. So many of them were mistreated, and many of them died. And there was never any. The Indigenous communities for years were asking the government to come to terms with this, to apologize, to do something about it, to let the stories out. And finally this summer, because they had new technology and they were able to dig, and they found the bones, they found the remains of little children in Kamloops. And so finally, like, because now it's about children's bodies being found, I think now people are going, oh my God, what happened? Now there's a movement. I think it was a long time in the works, but I think now it's really finally, we're going to hear the real stories. So
yeah, I hope that maybe in the next 30 years we will look at this time at a time of change. I don't know where we are with the time yet, but I think we can make a wrap here. Thank you so much again for your time and for answering questions and yeah.
Thank you so much for your questions and sharing that and sharing the movie. Thank you.
Yeah.